So now, having faced all this referendum of the whole thing, I felt, and also of course know that we have got a whole lot of facilities in the nuclear fuel cycle, upstream and downstream of the reactors themselves. Reactor is only just a part of the fuel cycle, and reactor upstream, right from mining and drilling of uranium to this enriching the uranium, that is uranium enrichment, fuel fabrication, all these things, and the water, all these things are in the upstream. And in the downstream, spent fuel reprocessing, waste management, recycling of all the materials that are reprocessed actually, that is plutonium recycling, the uranium recycling, and then the thorium and the fast reactors. A whole lot of things are included in the fuel cycle. It's not just only the reactors. So, having, as I said, that having suffered by slowing down some of our programs and working hard on, all aspects of the technology. When this proposal for the deal came in 2005, we thought, that with the wordings, that were used in that is as far as, that the two countries, which are recognized to be advanced, and they should be participating, in this cooperation as equal partners and blah, 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 all that sort of thing that was said. We thought, that there is a clause, some sort of recognition of our strengths, so we can at least, get some benefit out of it and move forward in a much faster pace. That was the ray of hope that was that we entertained, when this whole deal was mooted. But the subsequent events, have shown that all these things are only just on paper, and ultimately nothing of that was moving actually. In fact, even when we voiced this concern to the Prime Minister, and some of us met the Prime Minister, but he only was suggesting that we should be patient and we should wait for the Congress to come out with their product, and then afterwards, once the product came out, then the Act also came out, then we were told, that we should wait for the 1, 2, 3 also. So that means, the whole thing, was going on, whereas the US was changing the goalposts constantly, and we were just watching, waiting for the final product to come out, in fact. So what does the final product come now? The highlight is there in one hand, and then the 1, 2, 3 agreement is there on that, which is an offshoot of that for operationalizing the Hyde Act. So now the Hyde Act is giving all sorts of prescriptions, actually, in fact, and putting all sorts of bottlenecks, and there is absolutely no correlation between the Hyde Act provisions and the joint statement that was there right from the very beginning. That is one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is 1, 2, 3 agreement, which has been very vaguely worded, but very cleverly, languaged, so that it could be subject to various interpretations. And what is most disturbing is, of course, even the US, chief negotiator himself telling that we have kept the 1, 2, 3 language deliberately vague to make sure that both sides can interpret it in such a way that they can be used as space-saving devices. If this is the way, you cannot just wish away such statements. They may not be legally binding statements, but the point is the intentions are very clear. But the point is, the whole thing is some sort of fooling around, actually. In fact, by using this sort of, intentions on a serious deal. So this is something, which is very disturbing, actually, in fact. And what we have got now is a whole lot of provisions for consultations on each and everything, very profusely, 1, 2, 3 suggest, consultations. But there is absolutely, no way how we are going to settle the differences. In fact, this is what it is. So we have got the right to consult, and they have retained the right to decide, in fact. Because if there are any differences which are unresolved, they have got a fallback, highlighted the fallback. Whereas, we don't have any matching act where we can fix them, actually. So what sort of leverage we are having, in this whole business, actually, in fact. Unless, the only thing is, it's a question of more more discussions, more consultations, spending more effort, but ultimately the end result is known. So this is where it is. So this will keep on going as time passes, because we would have been neck deep in imported reactors, and ultimately it will be very difficult to take any very strong action at that point of time because of the economic fallout after we have progressed quite a lot. So these are all some of the problems that we are facing. Another thing, of course, is the separation plan with all fanfare, was all passed in March 2006, but there is no mention of separation plan in the 123 agreement. Some portions of it have been cut and paste, they have done it, of course, but that is done in a very shabby way, particularly on assurances of supply. But I was just thinking, why this separation plan has not been, formally recognized at all. Because, separation plan says in a few cases where such and such decisions will be taken exclusively by India. At least 3 or 4 times it says that the decision will be exclusively by India. The sequencing or some of the other aspects, which of the facilities will be put under safeguards, and in what sequence, and in what phases. These are all decisions by India. That's what it says in the separation plan. Probably that these things are very inconvenient for them to recognize, in fact. So probably that's why they might have just said, that separation plan will not be taken on board formally. Though, of course, it was supposed to be a very, important document which was being talked about all over the place. So this is something, which the intentions are, somehow, are not very honest. So if the deal had been fixed and progressed in an honorable way, with preserving our dignity, we as scientists certainly would have been welcomed it, with open arms, in fact, in this. But the point is that, it is not so. I feel very sorry when I discuss with the CMD of Nuclear Power Corporation what sort of problems that he is facing because of the uranium shortage. Certainly I have my sympathies for him. But the point is, unlike in various other agreements, where, it could be, even the executive could say that, constitutionally they have got all the powers, to go ahead with international bilateral agreements without referring matters to the parliament. They could say all that thing. But the point is, I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, no other agreement will have this sort of commitments in perpetuity. This is one thing, which is very important, in fact. We are tying up the future by going through the present, agreement. Right? So this is something, which will have to be evaluated, and that makes it more, important for the executive to see that, that this has got, wider acceptance, because perpetuity is something, which is not there in the normal course of this thing. That's where, it hurts.